Hello ladies, Viguple is back again and we're continuing part 2 of redesigning state flags. So now over here we have Montana, who used to have the stereotypical blue background with a seal in the middle flag, but then I changed it to this, blue background. The blue background is kept, but instead of the state seal I added mountains over here. Now what's special about these mountains is that it makes the letter M, which is for Montana, and also has the colors gold and silver, which are gold and silver, which in Spanish translates to oro y plata, which is the motto for Montana. And next up is Nebraska, and over here I added an orange background. Don't ask me why. And I added an 8-point star over here to represent progress, and I added a railroad track over here to represent the industrial history that Nebraska used to have. Next up is Nevada, and I put apparently the Nevada state colors are silver and blue. Apparently the blue is supposed to represent Lake Tahoe, I think that's how it's pronounced, and the silver is supposed to represent the silver deposits in the country. So I added all of that, and I turned the blue circle into a donut kind of shape, because I thought it would be, aesthetically pleasing instead of just a circle in the just a whole circle in the middle. Next up is New Hampshire, and yeah, it's a ship because it had a ship. It had a ship in the original state seal, so I just added a ship. So it looks kind of okay. Next up is New Jersey, and apparently their state colors were buff, which is this yellowish color over here, and blue. So I made this kind of pattern over here, which I think sort of represents, I think the rectangle in the middle sort of represents the shape of New Jersey, which is kind of rectangular, and the blue lines represent the rivers that run through New Jersey. Next is New Mexico, which is, in my opinion, a perfect flag. The yellow and the red contrast very nicely, and the symbol in the middle is also in relation to New Mexican culture and tradition. Next is New York, and for New York I added this sun, I don't know. I added this on the top left to signify the sun in the state seal, and I added two golden lines to represent wealth and power, and I added a blue background to represent their access to the sea. Next up is North Carolina. I added an emerald over here since that is a state gem, and I used the red, white, and blue colors on the flag as well. Next up is North Dakota. The brown over here stands for the rocky moundscape, the yellow represents the sun, and the anvil represents the industrial background. Ohio, I consider it a perfect flag since it has a unique shape, which is not too hard to replicate, and also the design is very simplistic. I know it's a bit too many stars, but I think we can forgive that. Oklahoma. Now, the only change I added to the Oklahoma flag is the removal of the word Oklahoma and the color of the background. Other than that, I also increased the size of the shield in the middle, so now it looks more pleasing to the eye. For Oregon, I added this blue and gold pattern in the middle with 4 stars around it. This star represents northwestern Idaho, this is northeastern, southeastern, southwestern, and the cross point in the middle represents central Idaho, and the blue represents the coastline. Now, Pennsylvania, I added a keystone in the middle since apparently Pennsylvania is known as the Keystone State, and I added blue to represent courage and yellow to represent rich cultural background. Rhode Island, apparently the anchor is a sort of icon for Rhode Island, so I added that, and blue stands for Blue stands for their maritime activity, and yellow stands for whatever you want it to stand for. And I'm kind of tired of coming up with explanations on why I added color, other than, you know, it looks nice to the eye. For South Carolina, the only changes I did were I enlarged the tree in the middle. I got rid of the crescent gorget in the top left corner, and I changed the background to indigo blue, which is the state color for South Carolina. South Dakota. So South Dakota doesn't really have a lot of things going for it other than, you know, Mount Rushmore. So I added this white pattern, which I think is supposed to represent a bridge, and the green represents agricultural industry, and the yellow in the background represents agricultural wealth. I made the flag of Tennessee pretty simplistic. I added orange and white, since that's apparently the colors of the state colors of Tennessee, and I added a guitar in a canton, in a white canton, to, you know, represents cultural music, because apparently country music is pretty popular in Tennessee. Texas. Now I classify the flag of Texas as a perfect flag because, you know, even though it looks too simplistic, it's easily recognizable, and, you know, some people may say it may get mistaken for the flag of the country of Chile, but, you know, I tend to ignore those kinds of people. Now, what you all been waiting for, Utah. I've been kind of teasing this flag throughout my polls, and I actually had no idea why I specifically chose Utah, except for the fact that the word Utah only had 4 characters in it, and I wanted to try to fit into the character limit that I could put into the words in my poll. So yeah, here's Utah. That's a honeycomb in the middle, and the stone represents whatever you want it to represent. Vermont. Now, apparently Vermont is known as the Green Mountain State, so I added a green mountain in the middle, and I, you know, put green bands around it to make it look as though it's not empty. Virginia. I added a lion over here because apparently Virginia is named after Queen Elizabeth, who's also known as the Virgin. So, you know, English background, and the purple background stands for royalty. Washington. So this is the beaver or the marmot. I think it's the marmot. Yes, the marmot, the state animal for Washington, and I also kept the iconic, you know, Washington green background as well. For West Virginia, apparently West Virginia is known as the mountain state, so I added a few mountains in the middle, when apparently the state colors for West Virginia are blue and a color called Old Gold, so I added that as well. Wisconsin. The Wisconsin flag, you know, was kind of stereotypical, so I made this. The pig stands for peace, the cow in the middle represents the dairy industry, and the white represents milk. Now, Wyoming. So apparently there was a proposal in the court of in Wyoming to make brown and yellow the state colors, and unfortunately that, you know, proposal did not succeed, so I added brown and yellow into the flag, and I added the bison in the middle, since there was a bison in the actual flag of Wyoming. That's it. Yeah, we have finally finished redesigning 50 states, and I managed to condense that into 2 videos. Yeah, so I kind of feel proud of myself. Hope you enjoyed the redesigning state flags series, and comment down below which redesign of any state, be it this video or from the other video, that you liked, and, you know, if you have any constructive criticism to give. And thank you for watching, and goodbye, gentlemen.